welcome to the Operation Bohica podcast. These are my honest thoughts on last Sunday's game between the New York Jets and the Atlanta Falcons. Going into the game, the Falcons were they had a record of 4-7. Obviously, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, especially
Thoughts on
given this
last
loss. So, a devastating loss for the Atlanta Falcons. For the New York Jets, the Jets are going into this game with a 2-9 record, obviously pretty much out of the playoff picture, no matter how you slice it. But I'll say this as a Jets fan since 1982, it's a win. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's what Aaron Glenn needs to be doing. He needs to be stacking wins. And if we're being honest with ourselves, I'm not saying they've turned the corner. I'm not saying they're going to finish 8-9, but I'm going to be honest. There's been progress. You have to admit, even though they're 3-9 right now, you have to admit that the players on the team, the ones that are going to be on the Jets next year, and the ones that are not, they are playing hard for Aaron Glenn, and you have to admit that they have not given up on Aaron Glenn. If we're really, really being honest, the only two times where I felt that they gave up were in week two against Buffalo when they got blown out of the water, and in week five against Dallas, where Dallas, pretty much smacked us around quite a bit. Really, in the other games, there were situations where we could have won the game. Unfortunately, the Jets just found ways to lose. This was a game which was eerily similar to a lot of the close games that the Jets have been playing throughout the 2025 season. The biggest difference is in this game, just like in the Cincinnati game, this is a game that the Jets found a way to win. So you got to give it up to them. They have won three out of their last five games. Obviously, they're not going to go to the playoffs with that 3-9 record, unfortunately. But again, they found a way to win. They found a way to win against Cincinnati. They found a way to win against Cleveland, despite the mistakes that they made. And this past Sunday, they found a way to win despite the mistakes that they were making. They found a way to beat the Atlanta Falcons. So we do have to give them props for that. Uh, it makes you wonder if Tyrod Taylor had started maybe 3 to 4 weeks prior to him starting, maybe the Jets might be in the playoff hunt. We'll never know. But I got to give him props. 19 of 33, 172 yards, one touchdown. He did take a couple of sacks. Having said that, he did have 8 carries for 44 yards, and he had a couple of big runs. The one that tied the game at 24, that touchdown run with less than 2 minutes left to tie it at 24. And then the Jets got a three and out on defense. Props to the defense for that. And then he had a run near the midfield line, took the ball out of bounds. And then that end of the game sequence after that run, I don't know what the heck Aaron Glenn was doing. I know they wanted to run out the clock with no timeouts, but that one really, really, really could have come back and bit the Jets in the behind, but it did not. Kirk Cousins had a good game for Atlanta, 21 of 33, 234 yards, and a touchdown. Got sacked twice. Got sacked by Michael Clemens and by Tony Adams. Both sacks came in the first half. In fairness to Michael Clemens, who probably will not be on the Jets next season, a lot of us Jets fans have hounded him about his lack of production and also the personal foul penalties. Let's be honest, he has, if nothing else, Michael Clemens has cleaned up the personal foul penalties. You have not heard of Michael Clemens having a personal foul in quite a while this season. So we'll be fair to him. Tony Adams is another one that is not going to be on the team next year, but he did have a sack. So let's give him props for that. He did have three solo tackles as well. So he had a much better game than what he did against the Ravens. Brees Hall, a rather pedestrian 19 carries for 68 yards. He did have a 2 yard touchdown run. The Jets 18-5 when Brees Hall scores. So let's get Brees Hall in the end zone more often. He must be working. The other standout offensive player other than Tyrod Taylor, how about Adonai Mitchell? 8 receptions, 102 yards, including that 52-yarder to tie that game at 14. That's his first NFL touchdown. It's looking like the Jets really fleeced the Indianapolis Colts, which I felt at the time that the trade was made that the Jets fleeced the Indianapolis Colts. Sauce Gardner apparently is out with an Achilles injury. He might be out a couple of weeks. Thankfully, he won't be out the rest of the season. I wish no ill will on Sauce Gardner. It was just he just wasn't producing in New York. But look at Adonai Mitchell, got his first touchdown. You can tell he's a legitimate deep threat. Tyrod Taylor, unlike Justin Fields, not afraid to throw the ball deep. So a pretty good combination out there. And Adonai Mitchell, a great game. Like I said, 8 for 102, including a touchdown. Got to get Mason Taylor more involved. He only had 2 catches for 21 yards. I think Mason Taylor has. I think he's got the goods. It's just he got to get more opportunities. John Mechie, despite some drops and despite the fact that it was not as good of a game as he had against the Baltimore Ravens, he still had 4 catches for 19 yards. So I think the trades for the acquisition of John Mechie and the Michael Carter trade from Philadelphia and the Adonai Mitchell trade, who was a quote a throw in the Sauce Gardner deal. Mechie and Mitchell, the M&M boys, they are they are rising. They both have something to prove. They they know that their careers have kind of taken a bit of a hit from their previous spots, so they are playing with a fire and a hunger. And these are guys that thankfully Darren Muji was able to acquire, and that's something that Darren Muji has been doing as a general manager. He is acquiring guys that have something to prove, that really want to play football, that want to get physical. So props to Mitchie and Mitchell, and I really hope, if you ask me if I could keep one of them for next year, I'm absolutely going to tell you keep both of them at all costs. I don't know the contract situations with Mitchell and Mechie the third, but I keep them. You absolutely have to keep them for next year. And as you can see, the offense seems to run with a little, it's not perfect by any means, but it runs with a little more fluidity, a lot more consistently. Now you've got a couple other weapons, and wait till Garrett Wilson comes back. This offense might really start taking off, and that'll really open up lanes for Brees Hall as well. So it'll be interesting. It looks like this offense is it ran efficiently this week under Tanner Engstrom. Let's see what happens in the offseason. You're probably going to have to replace John Simpson, who has not had a great year at left guard. Josh Myers has, he's been inconsistent at center. But as far as the offensive line, you've got Olaf Fashanu, you've got Joe Tipman at right guard. You might be able to move him back to center. And then you've got Armand Membu. Now, Armand Membu, admittedly, he did struggle this past weekend against Atlanta, against James Pierce. But in fairness, Armand Membu is a rookie. So you, we're going to give him a pass on that. But the offense was good. Even Alan Lazard had a catch on a wild deflection, but Alan Lazard, he's got to go. Special teams, man, incredible. In the first quarter, excuse me, the second quarter, they recovered a muff punt by Atlanta. Quantez Stiggers, who's an outstanding special teamer. I think he should get a Pro Bowl nod as a special teamer. He recovers at the 2 yard line. Brees Hall recovers for a 2 yard touchdown. Then later on, the touchdown pass by Mechie. Then the Atlanta went up by, I believe, 17-14. Nick Folk missed a field goal, but then he made another one thanks to Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams has shown himself to be a fantastic kick and punt returner. That should have been a touchdown, but unfortunately, it was not. He got tripped up at the last second. That led to a Nick Folk field goal to tie it at 17. You've got Austin McNamara. What another great find by Darren Muji. This young man looks like he's going to be the starting punter for the Jets for many years to come. I believe he is a rookie out of Texas Tech, 24 years old. Austin McNamara is that dude. And then Nick Folk, the ageless wonder. Nick Folk was a teammate of Coach Aaron Glenn with the Cowboys back in 2007. Nick Folk, the 41-year-old OG. I'm pretty sure he's older than there's got to be at least two Jets players on that roster that Nick Folk is older than both of them put together. But Nick Folk, even though he missed that first 50 plus yard field goal, uh, he gets the game winner just like he did 15 years ago in the playoffs against Indianapolis. So props to Nick Folk. Nick Folk, I think, is the greatest kicker in the history of the New York Jets. As much as I love the Pat Leahy for all the old heads out there, I love Pat Leahy as a kid, but Nick Folk, again, cemented himself as the greatest New York Jets kicker of all time. You got to go back to that 2010 season, man. He was hitting clutch field goals left and right. I remember though, in 2010, in somewhere in the middle of the season, they went at Cleveland. He missed like three field goals. The game went to overtime. Mark Sanchez throws a slant to Santonio Holmes with like 10 seconds left to win that game. That was one of the wild games in the history of the Jets. Jericho Cotchery hurt himself making a diving catch as well in that game. I remember, whew, that was one of the all-time Jets classics. Uh, as far as Atlanta goes, I'll say this: Bijan Robinson, man, Bijan Robinson, he's special, man. He's special. I know him and Bruce Hall. They've known each other for quite a while. The announcers were talking about their relationship during the game. Bijan Robinson, excuse me, he was straight up pimp slapping the Jets defense. 23 rushes, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson, he was like the Fugees out there. He was killing the Jets defense softly. I mean, he was. If the Atlanta Falcons had a better record, Bijan Robinson would probably get MVP consideration. Another guy that was killing the Jets was Kyle Pitts Sr., seven receptions for 82 yards, and he was really hard to bring down. As far as the Jets defense goes, Malachi Moore had a good game, had 10 total tackles. Isaiah Oliver, solid game. Quincy Williams, solid. Jermaine Johnson, I think he played well. Hey, look, this young man, AZ Thomas, he had I think he had a pass interference penalty somewhere in the game, but I think this guy is good. I think he's got a really good future with the New York Jets, the rookie out of Florida State. Also, understand Florida State has produced some fantastic cornerbacks. You got to start with the cream of the crop, Deion Sanders. You got to talk about Terrell Buckley for all the old heads out there. Xavier Rhodes in his prime. Xavier Rhodes was an absolutely outstanding cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings. And then in later years, I think Xavier Rhodes has retired, but he's one of the better ones. Again, Antonio Cromartie was very good with the Jets. He went to Florida State. Bryant McFadden. You've got guys like Leroy Butler for all the old heads out there. Leroy Butler back in the '90s. He was awesome. I believe Leroy Butler is in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. He was Yes, he is. He is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm not saying that AZ Thomas is going to be a Hall of Famer or anything like that. But when it comes to Florida State and the cornerback position, Florida State has a very good pedigree of producing great cornerbacks. Like I said, Leroy Butler, Deion Sanders, Terrell Buckley, Antonio Cromartie, Myron Rolle. Even though Myron Rolle played safety, you got to put him on that list as well. Corey Sawyer, Patrick Robinson, Mario Edwards as well. So I think AZ Thomas is gonna. I think he's got it, man. He's got it. I'm loving what I'm seeing from AZ Thomas. Yes, he's a rookie. He's gonna make his rookie mistakes and what have you, but he gets after it. He's physical. Unfortunately, he had that concussion a few weeks back. Hopefully, that will not be a recurring issue. Another bright spot that Darren Muji has acquired, Jawan Briggs. Jawan Briggs is getting after it. He was a first round, I believe, it was a first round draft pick. I'm sorry, he was a seventh round draft pick out of Cleveland. Unfortunately, things kind of didn't work out. He went to college at Cincinnati, so I believe he was a teammate of Sauce Gardner. But Jawan Briggs, man, this young man is doing his thing out here, getting a chance with the New York Jets. And that's the thing. Darren Muji is not waiting for the offseason to try to acquire players that fit the scheme or whatever. He is getting these guys during the season. As a matter of fact, I think Jawan Briggs might have more sacks or has as many sacks as Quentin Williams. No disrespect to Quentin Williams, but you got something there. You've got something with at least with the interior of the defensive line with Jawan Briggs and Harrison Phillips. You've got something for the future. Hopefully, Jermaine Johnson next season will be fully recovered from that Achilles tear, and we get more sacks out of him, and hopefully we get some more production out of Will McDonald. Yes, he did have the four sack game, but we got to see more production out of Will McDonald. I think let's just assume that the Jets don't try to trade up and try to get Fernando Mendoza or whoever, the young man from Oregon as the number one draft pick, or they trade up with Tennessee or whatever. I hopefully the Jets they need an edge rusher. They need an edge rusher really bad because they really don't get to the quarterback as much as I think they should. But nevertheless, a really good solid victory for the Jets. Now the Jets sit at 3-9. And listen, after the 0-7 start, they have won three out of their last five. I think they've got a good shot of beating Miami, even though Miami's hot right now. Miami's won about three, four in a row. Just when you thought Mike McCagnon was going to get fired, here the Miami Dolphins are. You know, they're playing pretty well right now. They're sitting at 5-7. They're on a three-game winning streak. So the Jets have an opportunity to end that winning streak this coming Sunday as the Dolphins come to MetLife Stadium, and I think the Jets have a legitimate shot here. So we'll see what happens with that game. But again, those are my thoughts as far as this past weekend's game. The New York Jets playing hard still under Aaron Glenn. Let's give Aaron Glenn credit. They have not given up on him. The Jets come out with a 27-24 clutch victory, and those are my honest thoughts. This has been the Operation Bo Hika podcast, and I am out.